Let love explode and bring the dead to life.
Talk about how your character has kind of developed since the last few, movies.
Well, I think it's interesting, in the first couple of movies, I think the worst thing that happens to Rev Dave is that his car doesn't start and he can't get to Disneyland,
Yeah.
Of course, I have an appendicitis in the second movie, but really, you don't know much about Rev Dave, and this movie kind of opens it up to say that he's not just this facade of a pastor, he's actually a real guy with real problems, and we find out that, here you have a pastor who's a kid of a pastor whose brother is an atheist, and you throw those two together and you're like, how's that?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah.
Yet that's real life. That's a lot of our families. That's what, it's just organic, authentic, it's real,
Yeah.
and that's what this movie hopefully answers.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts, was your two dynamics together. How was working on that to get that brotherly bond? Because I thought it looked perfect.
I don't even know if we had to work on it. We just kind of, well, there's a through line of a script, where you're going to start and end up. So we've both been acting for a long time. We
really don't like each other.
We don't like each other very much.
Don't get along.
And you know how to break a script down. I want to just go back to what you just said. Our director, Mason, he caught this guy. What you don't have in a lot of movies these days are some great close-ups. And I saw some really great close-ups of you in this movie that shows what's going on. Because there's only one way to see it, and it's to get into the eyes, And there's a couple shots of you just sort of thinking that I'm seeing less and less of those in movies these days. I mean, really great tight close-ups on important moments like that. So we got to give him a little credit for getting in there and doing that, because it helps us as an audience see it.
Yeah. And I also feel like your character kind of had to learn, had an arc of learning like compassion, or learning how to relate to other ideas and stuff like that. Can you talk more about that?
I mean, in the obviously when people come up to me in the airports or wherever, and fans of the movie and or how the movie affected them in some way, their first line out is always, God is good all the time, and they always want me to respond all the time, God is good. And I think what this movie really opens up is, in the midst of our hardship, in the midst of our brokenness, in the midst of everything that Reverend Dave and even Pierce go through, and all of these, these intricate, the college students and what they're going through, is God really good? Is he good all the time? Mm-hmm. Is he good all the time? I mean, it's an easy catchphrase. It's easy for believers to say something to, well, this is what I believe. But how do you back that up? How would Jesus back that up? With true love, compassion, hope, forgiveness, all of those things. And I think this movie brings all that stuff to light.
Mm-hmm. And even for your character, and both of you, you're kind of getting out of your bubble and just see someone else's perspective. Can you talk about your character in terms of that?
My character's catchphrase is, got any booze? That's, I feel a little shortchanged here. I don't have a character catchphrase. People don't come to me in airports and say anything.
Well, not yet.
Well, they will now.
Yeah, that's their line. It's got any booze?
Yeah, that's my line, remember? You want
From
a drink?
a Christian film, where's my booze?
I got a line, and he offers me a drink, and I say, got any booze?
And I say no.
Pierce is a guy who's got a great life in the big city of Chicago. I believe that's where Pierce's office is. And
we shot in Chicago, so yeah, it is.
He's making money, and he's got no need to come back to this small town to help his brother fight to put a church somewhere where it probably doesn't belong anyway. We don't need a church on a campus, do we? We could use a Shakey's Pizza Parlor, but we don't really need another church on campus. Let's put that over here. But taking all that information in, he does feel that this eminent domain system that they're trying to use against him is taking advantage of him, so he bites the bullet and comes to help his little brother reluctantly, because there's some bad blood between, which we will find out later why there's bad blood.
Which is, kind of raises that question of is the church relevant today in our society? Here it is, the church, our parents built this church, then they started the school, and then the school got turned over to the state, along the way. and now the school doesn't think it's relevant anymore. And that's a great question that I think a lot of us have is, you know, you can, like you had said, you know, earlier, you can get the church on your app or wherever, and you know, but with science and with all of these, you know, these great accomplishments and explorations, is it really needed?
Yeah.
Do we need that? And is it even really authentic? Is it real?
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's what these God's Not Dead movies do, is that they start to ask these questions that a lot of times we don't talk about.
Yeah. The apologetics.
Yeah.
I love it.
The apologetics.
That's
I like
good.
that term.
She's so good.
That's a good term. We haven't heard that. I've never heard that one. Maybe you guys know.
How do you define truth exactly?
I believe truth is a person.
Don't forget, we are called to be a light in the darkness.
Sometimes all it takes is a spark.
Let love explode and bring the dead to life.